Hi, I want to welcome you to the Watchman section of our new website. We're going to have some informal rap sessions about what's going on in the news and some of the things that are just breaking. Right now, though, we just want to get acquainted. We're going to call this the Watchman Warning Corner or something of that nature. In fact, write into Hal at hallindsey.com and tell us what your ideas are about what to name it. We're going to let this be more friendly based to those who watch. But starting off today, you know, I have worked on a college campus ever since 1950s, and particularly when I joined Campus Crusade for Christ in the 1960s. And during that time, I began to speak all over the United States for Campus Crusade. And during that time, we took a survey of students. We had all of the students who worked with us go about the various campuses and take surveys about their opinion about God, their opinion about the history of the United States, their opinion about the Constitution, and about generally the environment that was in the country at that time. And we began to pick up a very definite leading where we saw that the students were going more and more away from faith in God. They were going more and more away from the traditions that had come down to us through our American history. And frankly, they were being converted in the classroom by their professors over to a radical left point of view, outright socialism as it developed. But beginning, in my experience, in the 1960s, I witnessed professors, whether they were teaching English or history or any of the arts, deviate from that and use the classroom as a pulpit to inculcate their students with a very radical left-wing point of view. And all of that just kept manifesting itself more and more in what the students were doing in their activities outside of class. Groups like the Students for Democratic Society, for instance, were very active and sometimes violently so in trying to get across their views of what America should be and change to. And I warned at that time, in fact, I've warned over the years since then, that unless this began to be monitored and they began to hold college professors responsible for teaching the course that they were supposed to teach instead of teaching a radical political point of view, that we were going to have real trouble in the United States. These professors saw their classrooms as a pulpit to convert America into a socialist country and to forsake the safeguards of our Constitution and go toward one worldism. Well, from the 1960s until now, I warned that there would be one generation, a college generation of 4 years, one generation like that after another that were being won over in the classroom and motivated and challenged to go out, especially into the media, into the government, into teaching, and to spread this new concept of what America should be. And the impact is really being seen today. If you want to know what's happened to America, if you want to know the main source of why America has changed so radically in these last couple of decades, especially in the last 8 to 9 years, it goes right back to how many of these college students were won over to this new point of view, doubting the history of America, doubting the value of the Constitution, and so forth. And they have spread this through all of the different avenues, such as the media, as especially in teaching. And so it's spread, and now we see a very different America than the one that I grew up in. I know, and I'm sure you can see it's changing too. But this sort of thing is reaching a pinnacle, and I think with the election of President Obama, we've seen a capstone of it. Mr. Obama celebrated his 100th day today in office. And during that 100 days, he has managed to get passed and into law more legislation that will have more long-term impact on changing America than any president in history. And some programs he got slipped in under the wire in the first 100 days were programs that other legislatures have tried to get passed for decades, and yet he got it done in less than 100 days. I say it's time to wake up, America. This is the sort of thing that we had better take note of and begin to do something about it. You know, I read an article by David Horowitz that was in the Wall Street Journal last week, and he said that the colleges, especially the major universities in America, have become one-party universities. And he meant by that, there's no representation, really, of any strength and value anywhere on our major universities of a conservative point of view. But what dominates are the things that they've been taught in the classroom. You know, I watched as many of the students that I worked with in the universities would come to me with all kinds of complaints because, for instance, a college professor would give them an assignment to write an essay in English, and in looking at the essay, they were graded down. Looking at the essay, their grammar was superb, their composition was superb, their writing was superb, but they were graded to low grades because of the content of the essay. Now, no professor is supposed to do that. We're supposed to have free thinking. And yet, anything that had a Christian worldview, anything that had a conservative worldview was downgraded. And many times, the students were mocked before the whole class. These are the sorts of things that have produced the atmosphere which enabled a very radical left-wing president to be able to initiate legislation that it'll affect our great-grandchildren, if not checked in some way, but it may be too late. These are the sorts of things that I think we are going to take a closer look at in the future. And I just want to close with one other item. You know, there's been some doubt as to whether Israel could really deal with the far-flung sites in Iran that are nuclear sites. There are many hidden far underground. They're dispersed in many places, so they made it very difficult for anyone to deal with them. But last week, the President, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, announced that they were going to have 140 of their latest fighter bomber planes put on a real air show during the special celebration they were having, which they have every year to show off their military hardware. And all of a sudden, the Russians came in, their intelligence department, and they warned Ahmadinejad to cancel the air show and to get all of those aircraft back from Mehrabad airfield, where they were all gathered in one place. He said, disperse them immediately. We have seen evidence that Israel is getting its Air Force ready to attack them and catch them on the ground. Now, they know what that could happen because at the start of the June 1967 war, Israel did the same thing at the very outbreak of that war and virtually destroyed all of the fighter aircraft in Egypt on the ground. So they had air superiority from the very outgo. That shows that the Russians, if not the Iranians, realize that Israel is quite capable of launching an attack that would take out those nuclear sites, especially if they're augmented with their very accurate missile force. So those are things to think about. We're going to report more on them later. But I want to welcome you. I hope you will look forward, as I do, to having these Watchman on the Wall chats at least a few times a week. So God bless you, and we'll be seeing you soon.